is now time for our Rants and Raves. Dan, what do you got?
I have a rant for the media for the way much of the media covered the news this week that the Congressional Budget Office had found that the Affordable Care Act would result in 2 million fewer jobs over time. And the CBO made it extremely clear that the reason for this is that people were no longer necessarily going to feel chained to jobs they didn't want to work at because they could get health care elsewhere. So they might retire, they might cut back, they might try something entrepreneurial. It had nothing to do with Obamacare throwing 2 million people out of work, but that's the way all too many people in the media went. And I want to single out for special torture Chris Cillizza of the Washington Post, who wrote a blog post essentially saying, well, we know what the reality is, but the bad thing is what the headlines are going to be here. And then when he was criticized for that, he wrote a follow-up post saying, hey, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, but essentially he said, hey, look, my job isn't to worry about reality. My job is to worry about what the political perception is out there. I just thought it was a shameful performance on the part of way too many people on the part of the media, feeding into essentially what are false attacks on the Affordable Care Act.
All right, defense of the Affordable Care Act there, Dan. Callie, what do you got?
I have a rant for CNN, and I think we might be putting this up. CNN is using this. There's a new thing out there done by a company called Upworthy, where they ask questions that are provocative online to get you to click on it or to draw interest. So CNN's tweet was, what state has the highest rate of rape in the country? It may surprise you. You know, as if you would ask that question of something like, you know, what state has the most tomatoes, in the same kind of tone. Well, the guy who's head of Upworthy, Adam Mordecai, said this is not an appropriate story to use our methodology. This is not correct. You know, we're talking about rape here, so don't be putting a little, you know, question mark at the end of it. And CNN sort of said, well, it is genuinely surprising that Alaska's rape rate is so high. Well, that may be, but there's a way of putting it so that it doesn't come off as something flip. Yeah. And
that's really bad.
Yeah, I think it is.
I haven't seen that. That's really bad. All right, Marjorie, you got it.
Well, I have a rave for James Risen. He's a Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter from the New York Times who's facing jail time now because he will not give up a source. He was doing investigative work on in Iran, a CIA operation. Jim and I, Browdy and I, had him on the radio today. And, you know, I think most people know that if you cannot, you can't use anonymous sources in very delicate situations like CIA reporting, or even in less delicate situations like many of us do here, you're not going to get any information. And he could be going to jail for 15 months if the Supreme Court doesn't take his case, and they may very well not take his case. It was also depressing to hear him say how President Obama, who ran as Mr. Transparency, has turned into this controlling person about the press, that he compared him to Dick Cheney and George Bush, and the American public getting lulled into giving up so many of our rights post 9/11. So anyway, good for him, and I hope he does not go to jail.
I hope he doesn't either. And there's no First Amendment protection for him.
You're right.
The real problem here is that the Obama White House has just shown a contempt for the role of a free press.
I know. I can't believe
John,
it.
what do you got?
I have a rant that sets up a rave, actually. And the rant is, I was very saddened at the recent passing of Chet Curtis. And a lot of warm memories were evoked of the wonderful work he and many people in Boston TV did during that era, the so-called golden era of TV news. Unfortunately, that also led to some, in my view, gratuitous slamming of modern-day local TV news. Yes, there's superficiality and problems with local TV news. There's also some terrific work going on throughout the market here. And the rave is, if you'll pardon me for doing this, for my own station, WBZ, which just received the highly coveted DuPont Columbia Award for coverage of the marathon bombing and its aftermath.
That's great.
And, you know, I thought that was a good case study, and others also did excellent work in this market during that, of what local TV news can do.
Very big award. Callie sits on the
jury. I was on the
committee.
jury for many years.
Very proud of my colleagues.
Fix was in.
Yeah, Fix was in.
No.
All right. On that note, I'm going to end with something a rant, and it's not just local news. It's all newspapers, everybody. It's keystroke, lazy journalism. You know, every time there's a snowstorm, somebody rolls out the old, are we going to run out of a snow removal budget? There is no such thing as running out of a snow removal budget. No city, no town, no one, no highway authority. It just isn't going to happen. And yet there it is, the ubiquitous. Check it right off the list. I'm sure you guys have already done it.
Yeah, we have. But it is obscene the way they make those hardworking contractors and plow drivers wait till July or August for their
awful.
money, if
Well,
they're lucky.
that's true. That's a whole other story.